Number 15, Ashley Madison. Much like many other dating sites, Ashley Madison offers dating and hookup services to its users, the only different thing being that its main focus is for married men and women to hook up with random or even other married users. Of course, this is a major center for controversy. It's fair to say that if someone wants to cheat, they can use any site, and that Ashley Madison is just beating a dead horse, while others claim that it's an easier and more secure way than just using any site. In July 2015, a group known as the Impact Team took it upon themselves to play vigilante and hack the Ashley Madison site. The group threatened that if the site wasn't taken down immediately, they would release personal information of its users, as well as fragile information exchanged internally amongst the company. On August 18th and 20th, they stuck true to their word and released over 30 gigabytes of user and company information. Users' real names, home addresses, search histories, and credit card transactions were all published to the public. There were even several government officials and politicians found on the site. There were allegedly 2 or more suicides that occurred in the weeks following the publication of the data. Several users issued a $567 million class action lawsuit against the owners of the Ashley Madison site, and this is apparently still underway. Number 14, LastPass. For those who can't seem to remember passwords, there's a website where you can store all of your passwords for several different accounts and websites, to be accessed later in the event that you forget them. In June 2015, LastPass was hacked and millions of passwords, account numbers, emails, and answers to security questions were stolen. This meant that the hackers had access to everything from Facebook accounts to bank and credit numbers for the users of the site. Although Joseph Bonu, a cryptography researcher, said that if users had a long and random enough master password to the site, their information could still be safe. However, for users with easy passwords or passwords associated with other accounts, it's likely that information could have been stolen. The breach was detected and the site was immediately shut down, resetting users' master passwords and requiring email verification. However, LastPass owners and operators say that they are not sure how long the hack had been done before it was detected. The biggest issue with this hack is that there are important politicians, millionaires, and even celebrities that use the site who could have had their information stolen. Though there is yet to be reports about information leaking or being abused, even a year later, it's impossible to know for sure if any of those high-profile accounts were tampered with. To date, LastPass has yet to release information on who hacked the site, possibly to keep the hacker or hackers' popularity down, but it's very possible that they were unable to triangulate the source of the hack. Number 13, OPM. This hack was considered not only one of the biggest hacks of 2015, but one of the longest undetected hacks of all time. The United States Office of Personnel Management is a unit of government which helps to train employees, offer federal jobs, benefits, insurance, and more. The hackers, who were allegedly from China, hacked the system and stole information of users and applicants looking to gain special government clearances. They managed to successfully steal the personal information of over 22 million people, which included applicants and spouses or parents of those applicants. Among the sensitive information obtained were social security numbers, fingerprints, birth certificate copies, addresses, sexual orientation, history of drug use or crime, and even details about relationships. The most shocking thing about this hack was that the system had actually been hacked into a year before this huge detection, meaning that these hackers were sitting silently collecting information for an entire year. Investigators believe that the goal of this hack was to get information about Chinese nationals that had been in contact with the US government, to later punish, blackmail, or interrogate them. Number 12, the PlayStation Network. As today's technology advances, it's no longer computers and laptops that are at risk for being hacked. Your phones, tablets, and gaming systems are just as vulnerable, possibly even more considering the common user makes more transactions on gaming and mobile devices than on their PCs. In 2011, the PlayStation Network was hacked and the personal information of roughly 77 million users was possibly stolen. As a result, Sony was forced to shut down the network for about 23 days to try and rebuild their security and ensure that the hackers had been removed from the system. There was also a huge outrage about Sony taking nearly a week to notify their users what was going on. Despite investigations, Sony never actually got to the bottom of who performed the hack, although they had thought it maybe had been persons involved with the group Anonymous. Anonymous denied any involvement, and it was later discovered to be a group known as LulzSec. The group was almost a satirical set of hackers that said they only did it to gain attention and to embarrass website owners and cause a fuss over weak security measures. The 4 members of the group were eventually arrested for their cyber crimes, and although a few of them did have involvement in stealing credit card information for monetary use on other sites, none of them had been found using the information obtained from the PlayStation Network. Number 11, Anthem. This health insurance provider is known as the second largest in the US. Anthem owns Blue Cross Blue Shield plans in roughly 14 states and serves around 80 million clients nationwide. Anthem's database was hacked in early 2015, and over 70 million of its clients and employees had information stolen. However, Anthem assured that while social security numbers and addresses were stolen, there was no access to credit card information detected. The sensitive information was also never found to have been sold online. This was not the first time a medical insurance provider had been hacked, but it has been deemed as the largest insurance hack to date. Furthermore, this hack was quite different as financial information was not stolen. Investigators suspected that the hack would be used to later get financial information from the clients themselves. This would come in the form of similar hackers and con artists calling or emailing clients and offering some false protection in exchange for credit card numbers or personal checks. Number 10, the first internet bank robbery. In August 2000, 3 men were arrested by British police in relation to the first online bank robbery. As the internet was making its way into every home across the world, online banking was becoming a similarly popular trend. The online bank AIG had over 1.1 million users that became the targets of this robbery. Being the first of its kind, the robbery taught online banks a lot about protecting themselves from hackers and robbers alike. The men allegedly tried to open fraudulent accounts, start up credit cards, and hack into the database to gain information on other account holders. Lucky for those users, the breach was detected very early on, and the 3 men were apprehended shortly after. Had this attack been carried about by more skilled thieves, the users of AIG may have been in serious financial hardship. Well, this has been named the first internet bank robbery. It was actually just the first to be publicized, and as online banking was on the rise, these types of attempts occurred quite often. Number 9, the Netflix hacks. A more recent hacking trend comes from the online streaming service Netflix. People across the globe either have Netflix, have had Netflix, or at least know what it is. It's become one of the top ways to stream, only second to Hulu. Most people have actually completely rejected purchasing cable bundles and instead have invested in a cheaper, easier, and more personal streaming option. The issue with this is that it's much easier to have a streaming service hacked than a cable box. There are the usual everyday hacks where someone gets your password and uses your account without your permission. However, there are more serious threats such as huge purchases being made to run your bill up, and the occasional stealing of credit card information. In April 2016, user Andrew Solon reported strange activity on his account. A user profile had been made under the name Lorraine. This was immediately a concern to him as he doesn't even know anyone by that name. This intruder was one of the many who hack into accounts, create profiles to view information, then proceed to sell the account on the deep web for about $50 to $150. Another tactic is that once the hackers are in the account, they can access a partial credit card number. From here, they email the user and ask them to update their account information, using the partial credit card number to make the email seem more legit. This way, they can obtain the rest of the card number, current home address, and phone numbers, which can all be used for more stealing. Luckily, there are ways to detect and prevent this, the number one being not to respond to unknown or sketchy emails, having a long difficult password that you change regularly, and avoid sharing your account with too many people. Number 8, CIA Director John Brennan. This director is in charge of counterterrorism, homeland security, foreign policy, and of course some of America's deepest secrets. The Central Intelligence Agency's director apparently didn't think he was too good for an AOL account and was hacked in October 2015. The teen who hacked his account said that he did so by tricking a Verizon employee into releasing some basic information on Brennan that made hacking the AOL account a lot easier. The hackers were in the account for 3 days, and Brennan was unable to regain access. During this time period, they posted screenshots of documents saved to the account, which included applications for government clearance, call logs involving other officials, and contact lists to name a few. Apparently, during a call to Brennan, when asked about how much money they wanted, the hackers responded, "We just want Palestine to be free and for you to stop killing innocent people." It was unclear whether Brennan was using the AOL account professionally or more as a backup storage location. Either way, you'd figure a top branch CIA official would have something a little more secure. After 3 days of this dispute, the account was officially terminated and Brennan's documents were also removed from Twitter. Number 7, the ATM Heist. In May 2013, a team of hundreds of hackers and street criminals from 27 different countries performed one of the biggest ATM heists in history. To break it down, the heist garnered a total of $45 million in ATM withdrawals during December and mid-February. There were about 40,500 total ATM withdrawals in 27 countries. 17 prepaid credit card accounts were used in the heist, 5 in December and 12 in February. About $2.8 million were stolen from Manhattan ATMs alone. The heist was done by extremely skilled hackers removing withdrawal limits on ATMs so that card users could essentially withdraw all of the money out of the ATMs. The organizers of the hack and the skilled hacker behind the computer sent out cashers to open cheap prepaid debit cards and then run the ATMs dry. Then they would give the larger lump sum to the higher-ups of the heist and keep their own share to purchase luxury cars and Rolex watches. These purchases are eventually what led to their arrest. Although no personal accounts were hacked or stolen from, anyone associated with the banks that owned the ATMs were basically in danger of owing money or having money drained from their savings to make up for the stolen goods at the point of the withdrawal. Even to date, it's claimed that not every single person involved in the heist was arrested, and there were originally only 7 suspects caught. Number 6, Heartland Payment Systems. In January of 2008, Heartland Payment Systems, a Fortune 1000 company that is responsible for processing payments daily for companies all over the US, was the victim of a very serious security breach. Hackers got into the Heartland system and were able to obtain digital information that is encoded in the magnetic strips of credit cards, aka the portion swiped when the card is used. This strip contains information about card numbers, cardholders' personal information, and bank account balances. With this special encoding, the hackers could create counterfeit cards. Roughly 100 million cards and well over 500 companies were affected by this breach. It was the largest credit card breach of its time and still hovers above the list of hacks since. Albert Gonzalez, American computer hacker, was sentenced to 20 years in prison for his major participation in the hack. Heartland eventually recovered the information stolen in the breach and even made serious breakthrough steps to make their systems more secure for future users. Number 5, the IRS Hack. The US Internal Revenue Service has of course been the target of several hacks, heists, and robberies throughout the decades. However, in May 2015, during the end of a huge tax season, the IRS met its biggest hack possible ever. When the hack was first detected, it was said to have resulted in the loss of data in relation to about 100,000 tax returns. However, as the investigation deepened, the number grew larger and larger, and it was found that over 300,000 taxpayers' information was actually at risk. The hackers used a transcript system offered by the IRS that allows taxpayers to view previous files. The hackers came ready with information to pass the identity verification and access applications, files, and contact information that included credit card numbers, income data, employee information, and social security numbers of not only those that filed, but their spouses and children as well. Taxpayers who were potentially hacked received letters about the incident so that they may monitor their accounts and make necessary changes. They were also offered access to free credit and identity protection programs. In 2015, several teams ganged up to help solve and stop this large-scale bank robbery. A team of hackers allegedly from Russia had been attempting and often successfully hacking into and robbing over 100 banks, e-services, and payment systems worldwide. The attacks included targets from Russia, USA, Germany, China, Ukraine, Canada, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Romania, France, Spain, Norway, India, the UK, Poland, Pakistan, Nepal, Morocco, Iceland, Ireland, Czech Republic, Switzerland, Brazil, Bulgaria, and Australia. Common plots involve the hackers staying in the system for anywhere between 2 months to a year before committing the crimes that usually grab $10 million or more from each victim. The whole timeline would begin with an employee of the bank or service having their work computer hacked by phishing methods. This would ignite the several steps that led to the service, and possibly its ATMs being run dry. Even a year later, though more attempts have been blocked, the whole operation is yet to be seized. The Kaspersky Lab, Europol, Interpol, and authorities from different sanctions all over the world are still working to stop these attacks and educate users and account holders on how to stay safe. To date, the total theft amount is well over $1 billion. Number 3, the hacking team. The Italian hacking firm known as the Hacking Team is responsible for selling surveillance software to law enforcement and intelligence teams from all over the world. There was an irony-based attack back in 2015 when the hacking team themselves were the victims of a breach. The hacking team has been the head of controversy as reports claim their software is used to bypass antiviruses to get into the machines of political dissidents in Morocco. The hacking team has been the head of controversy as reports claim that their software is used to bypass antivirus to get into the machines of political dissidents in Morocco and other regions of the world. Furthermore, there have been rumors that the company sold its software to random millionaires who used it in illegal blackmail. Basically, the company was at fault for selling their software for uses other than law enforcement. When the hacking team was breached, over 400 gigabytes of internal emails were published which allegedly confirmed the rumors of their unethical sales. Among those exposed secrets, personal information of companies and sanctions that had purchased the software was also released, which was ultimately a huge threat to those groups and their privacy. Even after the publication of these files, the hacking team still denies those sales ever being made and even pointed blame towards investigative teams that originally sought out to help them, claiming that their methods were flawed. Number 2, Russian Heist. In March 2014, a Russian organization hacked over 420,000 different websites and gained 1.2 billion usernames and password combinations, as well as 500 million home and email addresses. The Russian organization targeted websites worldwide as large as Fortune 1000 companies to small businesses. Since this hacking group was Russian, they were considered outside of the law, and there were no proof that they were actually associated with the Russian government at all. The targeted websites took measures to be more secure and also help their clients recover their accounts. Number 1, the Panama Papers. These papers are actually a series of 11.5 million sensitive documents concerning over 200,000 offshore companies. The documents also contain info on the directors and shareholders of these companies. The documents are put together and organized by the Panamanian corporate service provider Mossack Fonseca. The most damaging of the information enclosed in the documents is not an everyday home address or even a social security number. Many filthy rich people from around the world, including public officials, hid assets and income from the public eye to protect their image, avoid legal action, or to generally keep a vote. In early 2015, an anonymous German hacker began making the papers available to the public through a popular newspaper outlet. The hacker went by the codename John Doe. The information released reached as far back as the early 1970s, and at the end of its release, it totaled over 1.6 terabytes of data. The information leaked included 5 heads of state government leaders from 5 major countries around the world. Many other important government officials from over 40 different countries had their information leaked, as well as information involving friends and relatives involved in similar scandals. Hong Kong took the prize for having the most banks, law firms, and middlemen affiliated in offshore companies that could be seen as scandalous or unethical. Offshore business is often not illegal or involved in illegal happenings. Investigations into these cases showed that some of the shell corporations were used for illegal things such as fraud, drug trafficking, tax evasion, and even things as serious as human trafficking. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists began working with the newspaper where the papers were leaked, and they plan to have a complete list of companies and officials involved by the end of May 2016. Thanks for checking out this countdown. Be sure to subscribe as we upload new videos every week. It'd really mean a lot if you join the notification squad by clicking this gear button, checking this box, and then clicking save. See ya.